If you really oversimplify what makes a successful business, I think it's surviving for long enough. But if you can balance that with doing enough cool shit, then you've got something really powerful. 6 in 10 items of clothing that are made end up in landfill within a year, which is obviously a pretty crazy stat when you start to process it. So I got a call about 5 in the morning and the message just sort of said, your shop's been broken into, you need to get down here as soon as possible.
Hello and welcome to Unfulfilled, the podcast that delves into journeys of people shaping the e-commerce landscape. I'm your host, Luke from Fulfilled Talent. In this podcast, we'll talk to people making waves in the e-commerce sector, those who have taken the chance and have made it. We're not just interested in success, we're keen to understand the hardships, the risks, and the real life experiences behind these brands and businesses. We'll hear stories of growth, culture, and the real struggles people have faced along the way. The aim is to get an honest look at the journey of building something worthwhile in the e-commerce world. So, if you're intrigued by what really goes into building a high-growth e-commerce brand and business, please stick around. We're always unfulfilled, and we're just getting started.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Unfulfilled. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Sam from Batch LDN. He is a guest that I have been trying to get on the show for quite a while, but he's a very, very busy man, and we'll get into that in a lot of detail. If you don't know about Batch, after this episode, hopefully you'll be heading down to their store and getting Sam up for a new suit. We'll be chatting about how they've scaled and who's wearing their suits, and like how they managed to grow so quickly, what is an unbelievable brand and presence as well. So, without further ado, I'm going to pass over to you, mate. Give us a bit of background about you, please.
Nice one, Luke. Thank you very much for having me on the podcast. I'm glad we finally got a time to get it done. Luke and I have known each other for a few years now, met in the sort of e-commerce space. I started Batch originally because I couldn't find a decent casual suit. That was the starting point. Prior to that, I'd been working in the drinks industry. I really knew nothing about fashion, but knew quite a lot about startups and how they work and when you register for VAT and how to conduct a cash flow. So had the basic business skills, which meant that going and learning a new skill in fashion was a lot easier. So I took this idea to my now co-founder, Julian, and we both agreed there was a bit of a gap in the market for a casual suit. We'd noticed that the traditional suit was dying out and people don't really wear it as much as they used to anymore. It's kind of only really, some businesses still, they're clinging on to it, some professions even, and then weddings and funerals. But even weddings nowadays are casualising as everyone wants to get married in the sun and it's too hot to be wearing full tails or shirt and tie. So we saw this big opportunity to take on the traditional suit and create something that's appropriate to be worn casually and smartly, that can take you from day to night and a bit more befitting of the modern day, something that covers you for all occasions and solves the what to wear when you want to look good dilemma that we all go through. That was sort of the starting point. And then as we started to look a bit more into the fashion industry, you quickly reveal what an unsustainable mess it is. And we all know fast fashion's bad, but it's not until you really dig into it that you realise how bad fast fashion's got. And we're at a point now where 6 in 10 items of clothing that are made end up in landfill within a year, which is obviously a pretty crazy stat when you start to process it. So we wanted to challenge that and firstly work out why that is, and then secondly work out how we can at least try and do something a bit better. So in working out why that is, found out that overproduction is the key cause for all of this fashion waste. Is brands making way too much stuff that they then can't sell, so they have to discount it. If that doesn't sell, they'll discount it again, and then if that doesn't sell, it goes straight to landfill before anyone's even touched it, which obviously doesn't make any sense for anyone, not people, not the planet, not for the business. So after realizing that, we came up with a new sort of model of production, which was making everything to order. The idea being that if you only make exactly what you need, it cuts out all of the wastage, all of the overproduction that's present in the fashion industry, because each piece that we make has a home that it's destined for. And so you don't create the same waste that you would in a normal model. But importantly, from a consumer's perspective, it means that we can make significantly higher quality items for a lot less, as we don't have to account for the normal end of season sales and holding stock and all the other bits of margin leakage you get. So yeah, that's sort of Batch in a nutshell.
Love it. And mate, I've been following you. Well, it feels like for a lot longer than just a few years as well. But like, tell me more about like the background between you and Julian, right? Because I think you're mates from, is it uni or just mates from just life previous? How did that all happen between you two?
Yeah, Julian and I were at Newcastle University together. Um, Actually, in different years. Julian was a year above me, but we played a lot of sport together, played rugby together, had quite a lot of crossover of friendship groups. Um, and at the time that I'd come up with this idea, Julian was working for a company called Oddballs, who make boxes and apparel and branded boxes, with a charity backing to them, looking to combat and raise awareness for men's testicular cancer. But he'd sort of been in that business space. He was third employee in with Oddballs and had watched that business grow and been a key factor in the growth. So he just felt like the right person for the job. Also had a keen interest in looking good. So yeah, when we put our two heads together, it realised that we've got opposing skills that work well together. Normally, when you talk about co-founders, you've got one that does ops and one that does marketing, and you've got very split roles. However, Julian and I were kind of both across all parts of the business. Our key differences are in Julian's a really good operator. He's very good at getting stuff done and making stuff happen. Whereas I'm a bit more of a wider thinker, strategist, come up with lots of different plans that Julian's then very good at going and executing. So we work well from that regard.
Yeah, I think obviously going back from being mates before business, it makes a big difference in terms of that trust element. You know, no doubt there's stories off camera you can go through about what happened at Newcastle University and whatnot, but that's probably not for this show. Maybe it's for a different uncut version. But
Yeah,
in
there's
terms
plenty
of
of
like,
stories.
oh, I'm sure there are, mate. I'm sure there are. But like, I know we'll dive into this straight away. But I know there's been a few challenges over the years, right? And one springs to mind what happened last year. But I'll let you talk about. Like, we're going to delve around a lot of stuff here, I think, Sam, today. But like that thing that happened last year, I'll let you go into more detail, and then also talk about like the follow-on and how you capitalized on what was a really shit thing that happened, like really fucking shit. But Jesus, did you guys like double down there and you made it into this unbelievable story, which I think will feed into follow-on questions, which is around the social media sort of branding and the awareness you've built within Batch as well. But that's a lot of stuff to cover in one question. So we'll just do the former first.
Yeah, I mean we've had plenty of challenges along the way, from whole production runs coming back too big, having to have them remade. Yeah, there's been plenty, but we had a big one last year, which was just at the time. We're now in a flagship shop in Covent Garden, which is really amazing for a young brand and adds a lot of validity to what we're doing. And so that was our big play, was physical retail and getting amazing shop spaces that we can use as a way to elevate our brand. But as we were building this current shop in Covent Garden, the shop that we were in at the time, which was in Shoreditch and Spitalfields, got robbed. So I got a call. It was about 5 a.m, but I was still asleep. So I called back when I woke up at 7 or whenever it was. And the message just sort of said, your shop's been broken into. You need to get down here as soon as possible. So I called Julian, wake him up. We both like, okay, right, let's get down there and find out what's going on. Panicking at this point, expecting to rock up to the shop and have had the whole thing ransacked and for it to be completely empty. Thankfully, I mean, I'm saying thankfully, but it wasn't an ideal situation. But when we did get down there, a couple of blokes had thrown 2 bricks through one of the windows and stolen a whole rail of suits, worth about 6 grand. But this rail of suits was all of this new collection that we'd just launched, which then nobody was then able to try on to be able to go and buy it. So it was a bloody nightmare to have lost it all. We weren't insured properly. A mistake you only really make once. But as soon as we got down there, we just sort of started rolling the cameras because it was kind of for our own personal Instagrams. um, of sharing the journey of like, shit, we've just had our shop broken into, looking for a bit of support from friends. That then did very well. The content we got, we managed to get the CCTV footage and published it in the hope that maybe someone might have seen something, or even just to get a bit of support from the community. That went semi-viral, and we're sitting in this building shop of our new shop, sort of like pretty low, pretty gutted that this had just happened. And I just turned to Julian and I just said, I think we can do more out of this. Like, I think there's an opportunity here. Right at the same time, an agency called 10 Days reached out and said, we think you can do more out of this here. And so it was the perfect coalition, and we put our heads together to work out how can we turn this negative of being robbed into a bit of a marketing campaign. They came up with this great caption: "See it, say it, suited," stolen from "See it, say it, sorted" and TFL. And we managed to get some free billboard space for a week, put up a poster just saying, like, if you see any well-dressed criminals running around, give us a call. And yeah, again, it just was an opportunity to go viral, and I think it put us on the map. And internally, it was a bit of a reminder that whilst we want to operate like a big brand, we've got the freedom and flexibility to be disruptive, that we are still a disruptor brand, and little PR moments and any opportunities you can get to try and make a song and dance are worth taking.
Yeah, agree. And you said that I remember again seeing, obviously through your socials, that all happening, and then the follow up that you guys did. Like, it was again like sitting here. I've got no stop that someone can steal from me, but like seeing how you took that really terrible experience into what was a, no doubt you got that 5 or 6 grand back. I'm not sure how many fold over, but like the fact that you're able to take what was a really terrible situation into, like, how we flipped that into a positive in a way was, I mean, it's testament to you and Julian really about how you guys are wanting to be seen as well. And I think that's then forms my next sort of discussion, I guess, is I think what you as a business do incredibly well is you have documented everything you've done so well, and obviously recently taken a videographer, which has taken you to another level as well, right? But I think for me, people know of you before you walk in a room now,
Mm.
which in itself is a huge like statement, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, people know who you are before, it's just it's unbelievable, mate. So again, like, testament to what you've done then. Was that also a big thing you and Julian wanted to do, was make it the social sort of side to it as well?
Yeah, I think we pissed around with paid ads for too long. What we sell isn't an impulse purchase; it's much more considered. Our normal sales cycle is something like 6 to 18 months. It's pretty long for a fashion brand. Particularly when you talk about trends and stuff. Luckily, what we create is timeless, so we're not too worried about trends. But running paid ads just didn't work for us. We tried lots of different ways. We tried lots of different methods, and realized that we weren't getting the return on investment. We're kind of just pissing money away. But what we realized we did have was two founders that are relatively happy to be in front of the camera. We've got a brand that needs quite a lot of storytelling and explaining with a good story to tell. So we kind of just thought, hang on a minute, rather than trying to push people with ads to make a purchase, why don't we tell stories and build this brand and lifestyle that people want to be a part of, rather than hammering the same drum in this massively competitive fashion space where every sort of third post you see on Instagram is someone else trying to sell you another cap or whatever it might be, which can work, but it's just not what we sell. So we went down this different route, decided to pull all ad spend and divert that into organic socials, whether that was across Instagram or LinkedIn or YouTube. And in doing so, put that budget that we had for paid social and hired a full-time videographer and content creator to implement a strategy that we'd come up with. We'd sort of learn what works, what sells to people, what key points they need to hear before making a purchase, and then how can we make that interesting and not feel like you're being sold to, and more like you're being educated or aspirational. So yeah, we just had a bit of a change of strategy, which is working for us so far. Like you say, we're starting to get that awareness, and there's a delay between the stuff that we do and the actual payoff, but we're now starting to reap those rewards and getting the growth that we've been looking for, which has been really reassuring and nice to see a strategy to a certain degree start to work.
Yeah. I think also other word I'd use is consistency as well, right? Like you are very consistent with like the tone that you post. It's, let's say, going back to that, still a small brand looking to scale and grow. Like you guys don't need to worry about the red tape that maybe comes with being a bigger brand, right? You can, to a certain degree, do and say whatever you want, right?
Hmm.
And I think
Exactly.
that's really built. I think that's also then transpired into when people do meet you and walk into the shop. It's not like, two different characters. You see one on TV, one in person. Like they are two different people. Whereas I think you guys are um, just so good at what you do. Like it's just, I think that's why I like people buy into you two so quickly as well.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. People buy from people, um, and so we're just our brand's quite consistent with mine and Julian's personalities, and the things we're interested in, the things that we stand for. And I think that, like, there's a lot of retail that's struggling, and I hear it so often because there's a huge disconnect between HQ and then on the ground. And HQ are coming up with all of these great ideas, but then it doesn't translate into what people are actually, like, why people are coming into their shop and buying. So you're almost like trying to operate two different brands within one brand world, when, because myself and Julian are in the shop a lot of the time, we get the opportunity to meet most of our customers, to find out why they're interested, what are they buying for, is it mostly weddings, and if it's a wedding, how do we target more people that want to buy for weddings, or is it for work and networking, which color works for work and networking? Okay, when we're telling a story about work and networking, let's use that color or that persona or that profile. But you only learn that from being present, from being in it, rather than, like, you can come up with all the strategies in the world, but it's what, until you actually see what's working and why, it's very hard to then replicate that and put the growth into that. So yeah, that's sort of been an interesting part of the journey for us, is just being present, being close to it, and then not being afraid to go and be ourselves, really.
Yeah. I think the other thing that you guys have also done is you haven't just focused on that D2C channel being on Shopify, right? You focused on what you telling all, like your bricks and mortar is a big thing for you, isn't it? Being on the ground as well. So like, why was that the decision you made? Like, again, talk about that side to it as well. Again, for any other fashion brands out there listening to this, like, what made you decide on that being your route to market?
Yeah, it was almost by accident in many ways. Well, not maybe not by accident, but I think if you'd come into this with fashion experience, and anyone that we spoke to that knew what they were talking about, when we said we were going to open a physical retail space, bricks and mortar, within 6 months of having launched, they would have told you to not be such a fucking idiot, for want of a better phrase. Um, but to us, it made sense. We launched our very first collection. We did a 2-day pop up launch party, as it were, and found out pretty quickly that people wanted to touch, feel, and try what we were selling before buying it. So it then made sense to us to try and do a longer version of that. We were looking at something in Shoreditch for like 10 days. And then I got introduced to Spitalfields Market, and they gave us a pop up for the same price as it would cost us for 10 days for 2 months. And we sort of rolled into it. And it became clear to us pretty quickly that what we're selling particularly is that thing that you want to touch, feel, and try. But also, when you're trying to build a brand, to have a space that you can call home, to work from, to invite people to host events from, to build out that brand world and lifestyle that we're trying to emulate, was a smart play. Albeit it's expensive, it's not cheap to run a shop, open a shop. It's a lot easier to run a website. But we sort of had big ambitions with where we wanted to take it, and decided that was we were going to make stuff to order and ask people to wait 4 to 8 weeks. They needed to know we were legit. They needed to know where to come knocking if their suit didn't arrive. They wanted to touch, feel, and try it, because you can't buy 4 items and send 3 back. Well, you could, but you'd be waiting 4 to 8 weeks to do it. It doesn't really make sense. So yeah, it's probably quite specific to our brand, but I think we're quickly moving into a world where in real life marketing is far more powerful than online because of the competitive nature of online marketing.
Agreed. So let's talk about Batch then. So when did you launch, like, and then talk us through like the growth to where we are now in terms of like what you've been able to do, and that question then loops into like how have you got the right people involved in the brand?
Yeah, so we're actually coming up to our end of this month is our 3rd birthday since launch. It was
Congratulations.
yeah, we made it to 3. It's a big moment. Well, not quite yet, nearly. It was about 10 months before that of building the product, which is relatively quick in the end. We were quite lucky. We just got put in touch with the right people. Only took us sort of 4 or 5 prototypes to get to the right item. We found the right fabric pretty quickly. So got lucky with that. It was about 10 months to get to a place we were ready to launch. Julian and I both went full time. I think it was about 8 months after launching. So prior to that, it was just sort of a side hustle, whilst we were still working full time for our prospective startups, which is a pretty mental period for us both. 1 startup's enough, let alone 2. But then had enough confidence to realise we're onto something, enough proof of concept to go full time. Moved into physical retail at pretty much the same time we went full time. That was sort of the key marker. If we're going to be in the shop all day, like, it's quite hard to hold down another job at the same time. And then sort of slowly growing it from there. We've raised a couple of investment rounds, small one to begin with, from a variety of angels, and a more bigger one recently to take us sort of to the next stage, to fund this shop, to hire new people. We're now on to our 7th collection. We're a team of 7. There you go, all the 7s. And yeah, it's been good, steady growth. We're finally at the point where we're hitting our targets. Probably a mix of having previously set unrealistic targets and also just like learning what sells and what doesn't, and where to focus time and energy. So yeah, it's been a fun growth journey, and we've been lucky in many ways that we've created the right product at the right time, particularly when it comes to celebs and influencers. So it's what people want to wear on stage and on the red carpet and on TV, etc. Where you look put together but not overdressed. And we've had a physical space to invite people down to, so we can start to build that rapport, connection. They've had a chance to pick their colour and find the right size, and so when they do get their suit, they actually want to wear it. And that's been a huge growth lever for us, both in terms of awareness but also validation.
Yeah. And like, is there one moment where a bit like a pinch me, a bit like, shit, that person's wearing my suit or our suit on TV, or, you know, you saw it in magazine or whatever? Like, is there, I know it's been a lot, right? I know I'm not expecting you to go through like the timeline of the one that superseded the one before, but is there one in your head right now that you picked as like like if someone offered me that 3 years ago, I would have like not thought it would have happened?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple, but I think the first one was Ramesh Ranganathan wearing it for his 60 show UK tour on stage. And yeah, we didn't really have the pinch me moment until we got invited to go to his show at the O2. And there was a crowd of 20,000 people. And we're sat there, and then out he walks wearing one of our suits, which we knew was going to happen, but it was still like, okay, like, this is actually that it sort of settles in. Then you could get a chance to soak it up. And in the back of the sort of brochure for the event, with a Batch London alongside Nike as the shoe sponsor, and you're like, okay, hang on a minute, we're playing the big leagues. And off the back of that, he then invested quite a significant amount into the business because he's getting loads of compliments, and it just sort of made sense. So that was a big, well-rounded moment. Um, what else was there? Seeing Stephen Bartlett wearing it on the front cover of a magazine was pretty cool. Um, Another one where it's like it's in physical print, it sort of like exists in real life, not just a photo. That was a big moment. Um, and actually, probably the final big one more recently for me was seeing Fred Siriax, the host of First Dates, who we'd gifted a couple of suits to back in summer last year, and then hadn't really got much from it or thought about it too much. And then I think it was about a month ago, I got sent an article on the Daily Mail warehouse of Fred wearing one of our suits for his wedding, and that we didn't know about, and it was just like what the fuck? That's pretty mental. Like I sort of grew up watching First Dates. I think he even applied at one point. Didn't hear back, but yeah, that was sort of a pinch me moment. That one.
Is it weird that I've got one in my head you've not mentioned?
No, not really. Who have you got?
I've got when Anna Deck wore it on I'm a Celeb.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was
that's
a pretty big
just a
moment.
small one. That's not a bad one
Yeah,
again, is it?
yeah, yeah. That was another big one. Yeah, I mean it's kind
It's
of been
insane,
wild
right?
how how it's grown, and more people are wearing it. We had an order come through online the other day from Theo Walcott, who'd bought himself 3 suits, and it wasn't even a sort of gifted scenario. He'd obviously just cottoned onto it from somewhere and decided that was a bit of him. So yeah, those are cool moments when people rate it so much they want to buy it. When if they'd asked, we would have given them one for free. Um, with that, there was a big moment with Ashley Walters from Top Boy, who we'd invited him for a free suit, and we were between 2 collections at this point in time, so it was about the most variety we'd have in the shop ever. And he came in and loved it, so we gave him a free one, and then he bought the entire rest of the collection. So he bought himself 6 suits and 2 shirts, and it was like, wow, we can actually make some money off inviting these people in.
And that's
That
the
was
whole
cool.
thing, is that's the whole experience, right? That you're talked about like throughout all this pod. It's all around that same thing, isn't it? When people, and that is so like this is a ridiculous thing to say, and I apologize. I've never been in your current flagship store, which it feels like I've
Not
been
yet.
in it. Not yet, not yet. Thank you. But what I've seen of it, I can feel like I've like, oh, again, it goes back to this social media side. Like, I feel like I sort of know the layout of it, and you can see the people in front of the mirrors downstairs. And I know Vic went to like your launch party. We had your DJs, and like the whole community, I guess is the word that we're sort of going around here. Like you've built is unreal, and I think it goes back to just what you and Julian have tried to build from a like a human point of view, right? I think that is people will always buy from people, as you say, but if you can add in there a really good product or service and you feel you're sort of getting the right, the right service there, like it's great to have that recipe to bring it all together.
Yeah, I think when it comes to, I've thought about this quite a lot, and if you really oversimplify, which is a dangerous thing to do, if you really oversimplify what makes a successful business, I think it's finding the balance between surviving for long enough, because there is just a case of if you're around for long enough, like eventually you'll break through the noise, and there's a lot that goes into surviving, so it's oversimplified. But if you can balance that with doing enough cool shit, then you've got something really powerful. So if you, and again, doing cool shit is oversimplified as well. What does that mean? What's the right thing to do versus what's not? But I think sometimes it's, as long as you think about it with some decent business acumen behind it, and like, are we going to make money? Are we going to lose money? If we're going to lose money, are we going to generate enough awareness to be worth it? But also to not be scared of just trying lots of different stuff. And for us, that manifests itself in different influencers and celebs, or different events that we run, from free tattoo days, which like really if you were to put tattoos and suits together, doesn't really make a huge amount of sense. But then it does in other ways because people that spend money on tattoos care about how they look, and have tattoos aren't cheap. And so if you can have nice tattoos, you might as well have a nice suit. And so there are like, if you think about it in a bit less granular detail and a bit more outside the box, you can find good crossovers. And so yeah, I think there's just we between the two of us have got a sense of a pretty good business acumen, but also like, fuck it, let's try it and see what happens. And if it works,
Yeah,
we'll do it again. If it doesn't, then whatever. We've done something that we enjoy
lots.
doing anyway.
Yeah. You even do the free cut Fridays, don't you, as well? And I know that's not something that's going to help me, unfortunately, but your free cut Fridays, it really helps as well, right?
Yeah, we did every last Friday of every month. We do a complimentary haircut with every suit bought. Um, we sort of started out as a bit of content with my local barber, and we're like, we should do something together. And then kind of realised that, that's a pretty cool reason to come down and finally get that suit fitting that you've been putting off for ages, because you get a free haircut with it, and became a nice sales tool for us to push people over the line that we'd been working on for a while. So yeah, we're going to continue doing that. It just makes sense, and it's kind of a cheat code to a good mental health day to get a fresh suit and a fresh haircut,
Yeah, agreed.
or a beard trim for you, mate.
Yeah, maybe. Thank you. I appreciate it. But I'm thinking about like most brands that I speak to, they talk a lot about like metrics. They talk about like cost per acquisition and lifetime value and return on investment, all that sort of stuff. But what's like your key metric that you guys look at as a business? Like, because if you're not spending or doing so much on, driving traffic, paid traffic to your site, like what is your main indicator that you're doing things right?
It's just the simplest business indicator that I think often gets overlooked is revenue versus cost. So profit, effectively. It's like, how much have we got to spend to get to our revenue targets? And then off the back of that, where are we going to spend it? Where's the smartest places to go and spend this money? I think a nice key factor that we have, which lots of consumer goods brands don't have, is we don't have cash tied up in stock. We only go and make stuff if it sells. Like, we do to a certain extent, because we've got some fabric stock and we've got stock of buttons, and so like it's not entirely true. But we're not sat on loads of different sizes that that's the cash tied up, and we've got to find a way to sell it. And so you just eat into your margin, because you might have to do like a 50% discount because you've got a new season coming and you've got loads of old season stuff. So it's a slightly more simplified way of thinking about things for us, because we don't have that additional factor to think about. But yeah, generally for us, we're measuring against revenue. It's like, how do we get to our revenue targets? And I think like we're still quite early days in our business, and we're growing exponentially. So it's quite hard to look specifically at some of the metrics you might look at if you're a slightly more established business. We're still working out what our seasonality is as we release new products that might work better in the summer versus the winter. And we're doing a campaign, because we're not an impulse purchase, that might pay off across the following 6 to 18 months versus like, let's do this. How many did we sell across that month? What often happens is like, we'll still have people walking in now that come in and go, I saw Ramesh at the O2 and I've loved it and I've been waiting for the right time. So really that's feeding into that moment. So trying to measure ROI on a considered purchase is quite difficult. So we try not to get too caught up in stats that might put you off from doing something that's actually working.
Which again is oversimplifying the things you want to focus on, right? Like it does make a lot of sense in that way.
Yeah.
And in terms of like talking about your partners, obviously, because ecom is your field. Like, is there a couple of partners that you would shout out on this pod who like you almost couldn't live without? And that could be like whether it's tech partner, whether that's an agency you work alongside, whether it's a community that's really helped you. Is there like a couple of partners who you think have been like stand out to what Batch has been able to produce and continue to do?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. Nathan Lomax as an individual, I'm sure lots of people will know. He was one of our early backers and investors, and he's been a really good guiding force throughout our journey. He's probably the most well-connected man I've ever met in my life.
We
He's
that's
like,
how we connected, probably. I think.
yeah, you send him a message and he'll reply to you within minutes with about 15 different contacts. Um, More recently, Rich from Get Better, who I've previously given a very hard time for because I'm not a massive believer in email marketing, and he's always told me we're just doing it wrong. But he's sort of helping us focus in on that and working with Julian, my co-founder, to make sure that the stuff that we are doing is good and correct. Um, TDLR is a sort of bigger, broader company, but under there, they're an umbrella company, and one of their brands is called Socialgram. Jamie Sharp, just a very, very good e-commerce head. They built our most recent website for us for nothing and in no time. A task that lots of people, including Nathan, told us was impossible, but they pulled it off. So he's been a huge support. Yeah, I'm probably missing lots of people, but those are the ones that really stand out
Yeah,
right this minute.
love that. And what's the next 12, 18 months look like for Batch? What's the next goal? Well, what's the next thing you're looking and wanting to do?
Yeah, I think I've recently I'm sort of a big thinker and make big plans and try and look way into the future, but had a recent realization that actually maybe we're trying to run before we can walk. We've been throwing around like, how are we going to expand into the Middle East and the US, and let's go and make that happen, into realizing that actually barely anyone in Covent Garden knows us, let alone London, let alone the UK. Like let's really stamp off or what's the way of saying that? Let's put our mark down in this area and with this shop, learn all the things that we need to learn, make all the mistakes we need to make, and then use that as our springboard to go and take on the world. Um, so yeah, I think for us, we're very much about an experience. I think although we're selling a product, what we're really selling is the emotion behind it, is the making you look good, making you feel good, coming in for a fitting, having style advice, etc. And so nailing down what is that perfect experience in shop, and then how do we replicate that perfect experience online or get as close to. Um, and then once we've come up with that, then it's time to go and spread that across the world.
Love that. And when you're looking at, like, if I'm assuming you probably get a lot of people come out to you now for advice, like other brands looking to grow or scale or get investment as well. I'm sure you probably get a lot of them conversations now. What are
Hmm.
your like key bits of advice you would give to like a new startup, either looking to like go to market or get investment? What are your sort of key things you sort of are telling people now from your experience?
I think there's probably two, like, and they're quite generalist bits of advice, but the first one for me is to find yourself a co-founder. And you don't need, like, there's lots of successful businesses that don't was founded by an individual, but there's lots of probably 10 times plus as many that have failed because there's just one person in there. Because it is fucking hard. Like, it's often glorified starting a business because you're on your own schedule and you can do whatever you want. But that's, whilst that's a pro, it's also a con, because for that same reason, it's very hard to switch off ever, to find the time to go on holiday and etc. etc. Whereas when there's two heads in there, you've got someone to celebrate the wins with, mourn the losses with, share the decision making weight, because making decisions is heavy and taxing, and something to bounce ideas off of. So yeah, for me that's really important, for certainly to explore, if not try and find one. Um, and then the second piece is to it's a there's a book by Simon Sinek called Start With Why, and I just think it's like the basic fundamental for any business or brand, to make sure that what the service you're actually providing or the product that you're providing or whatever is needed, and that you're solving a problem for someone, whether that's that you're doing something that's already existed for years but just doing it better, and the problem that you're solving is no one's doing it well enough. But then from the back of that, once you've worked out what problem you're solving, you can use that as a way to go and communicate it to people to help them realize like why they should buy you over something else, or why they need this in their life when they didn't realize they did before, because they didn't realize they had that problem that you've just gone and revealed. So yeah, get a co-founder, start with why as the fundamental of your business.
Love that. Yeah, it rings true. Largely, I'm just about to turn two as a business with Fulfilled. Like we're about to turn two and end of May ourselves. So those two things make a lot of sense to me. Like sitting here or standing here right now, listening to them, it does make a lot of sense. Like it is so true. Like trying to find people you want to be around during the not just the good times but the shit ones. Like it does take a lot, doesn't it? Because let's be honest, there are, especially at the early years, more downs than there are ups, and you feel them so much more as well. 'Cause you're the one taking the risk as well, and yeah, I think again that may be a different pod again for that one, but it's
Yeah,
I do agree that, and that why is a really big one as well. I think a lot of people um, get that wrong as well, and they don't explore that enough before starting. Um, like, and I
yeah.
know people. Go.
I think a lot of people just look at things and they're like, I could do that better, and it's like, well, you probably can, but why does anyone else care? Do you know what I mean? It's like you need to be able to explain why you're doing it better, how you're doing it better, why people are therefore then going to come and buy from you when you don't have the trust and the reviews and the whatever behind you. You have to find a way to show people that there's a significant reason that they need you in their life, whether that's the product or service that you're providing, and be able to communicate that. If you don't have that, like you're fighting an uphill battle from the start.
Agreed. All right, mate. So last question. Rest of this year, like what's going on with Batch that people need to know about? Are there other events happening? There are other, yeah. What should people be looking out for Batch over the next 6 months, or the dates, the diary they need to put in to make sure to come and see you?
Yeah, I mean we've got, as always, we're nice and busy. We've just released a new spring summer collection. We've got a mid spring summer product launch, a new suit silhouette coming, which is very exciting. We've got an awesome winter collection coming in September. Some new outerwear, some new suit colours, some new fabrics, a new dog jacket to match a wax canvas overcoat. So quite excited about that. And then yeah, across the whole of the summer, we'll be running shed loads of different events in the shop, from live DJ nights to tattoo flash days to salsa to whiskey tasting. There's sort of all sorts going on. So keep across the events page on our website to see what's happening. And if you're at a loose end and need a date night idea, we've probably got something.
Love that.
But yeah, those are sort of the key markers for us.
Good. Well, mate, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an
Not
absolute
at all.
pleasure. And
Thanks for having me.
yeah, no, mate, my pleasure. Thank you very much. And I'll chat to you very again very soon, mate.
Nice one, Luke. We'll get you down to the shop in no time.
We need to. To be fair, I might bring my brother with me. I think my brother would absolutely love one of your suits, and I need to make sure he gets in as well because he wears suits a lot more than I do. And no, they're still very nice suits, of course, but they're not Batch, that's for sure.
Nice, but we'll sort them out. I'll give
Love
you a
it.
little kickback, mate.
I like it. All right, mate. Thank you very
Nice
much.
one, Luke. In a bit.